Hello, YouTube. How's it going? It's been a while. So latest news, up here in Canada, it looks like we have passed a bill called C-16 in regards to discrimination against transgender people in the LGBT community. This is in regards to pushing through an amendment to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, or the human rights, basically allowing gender identity and gender expression to be included in this amendment. But what does that entail? Well, this is focused around the situation with a professor from the University of Toronto called Jordan Peterson. You might have seen his freedom of speech talk where radical liberal and SJWs tried to silence him.
Free speech is the mechanism by which we keep our society functioning. Woo! It's as a consequence of free speech and the ability to speak that people can put their finger on problems, articulate what those problems are, solve them, and come to a consensus. Woo! And we risk losing that. With Bill C-16 and its surrounding legislation, it's the first time I've seen in our legislative history where people are attempting to make us speak their language.
And actually attacked Lauren Southern as well.
Are you experiencing oppression? Don't smile at me, bitch. What you want?
So I saw a video in regards to a debate on TiVo where there was a few transgender supporters, professors talking with Jordan Peterson. Trans woman Theron Meyer was on there as well. She had a lot to say in regards to this new bill going through. So it has passed, and what does that entail? Well, Jordan Peterson's stance, and I think Theron's stance, is that it's actually a threat to freedom of speech. It could actually cause chaos ultimately down the road. So this is my interpretation of what's happening. So I'm just going to read what I wrote as a comment on the said video. So here we go. Wow, great debate. Both Theron and Jordan were very calm and smart about this. The trans man on the left just radiated on moral superiority and concern over trans issues, but I feel in all the wrong places. Jordan is right. This is a much bigger threat than people realize. Having the government frame our language just to make a small minority group feel better about themselves is going to bring utter chaos into society. What does this mean? Well, in simpler terms, instead of the individual taking the responsibility onto themselves to control their own feelings, they are forcing others and institutions to do it for them, with the law to back them up. That is oppression. It limits freedom of speech, proper healing if one's feelings do get hurt, and totally restructures our language and the natural evolution of how we communicate. As a side note, I'm an androgynous person. You can check out my video that I've done in regards to that in my channel. I'm an androgynous person. I was born a male, grew up as a male, and identify as a male. But being androgynous, I get mistaken often as a female, lesbian, transgender person, or non-binary, almost on the daily. Would it be appropriate for me to just accept that people mistake my gender and take it upon myself to teach them about me when they get me wrong, or force their language to work around any of my hurt feelings and have the power of government to potentially fuck up their lives? I don't have that kind of power. No one should have that amount of power over another individual, especially in regards to things such as freedom of speech and freedom of expression, which Canada is a strong supporter of. If you don't want to use someone's preferred pronouns because you don't agree with it, you should have that right. Then the onus is on the offended individual to grow a thick skin, get over it, and move on. The passing of Bill C-16 is a terrible move, in my opinion. I know it has the best intentions towards the transgender community, but it will be detrimental to the whole of society's way of communication and interaction. as Jordan Peterson states, it's a bad idea. So that's basically what I think about this. I am part of the LGBT community, and yes, there are certain rights that we as individuals and human beings deserve, right? We deserve to be treated with respect. We deserve to be heard and listened to. But like we as the LGBT community can't abuse that power and privilege. If we wish to be treated the same as straight people, cisgender normative people, like, we need to give back that respect. And I find that C-16, this bill, will allow oversensitive people to have the law and the government to back up their hurt feelings and attack others who might mistake their gender or just simply don't agree with it. Male and female, the binary genders, like, this is a real thing. We have science to back up these too. Transgender are the in-between ones, right? So we are starting to become more aware of that. Again, transgender people are people. They're humans first, and they should be treated accordingly. I don't wish any harm or violence towards them. Anything outside of that binary is a bit wishy-washy, and we don't have any science really to prove that. And think of it this way. If a person goes in for a job interview at a local store in your hometown, and they identify as a non-binary otherkin who's a deer on Wednesdays, but gender fluid every other day, what's going to happen if they don't get hired by the employer because they don't meet the requirements for the said job? But another person, let's say a woman, a cisgendered woman, gets chosen to do this particular job because she had the qualifications that best suited the employer's goal in making money and running their business. So who's to say that this otherkin non-binary person will not use the law to sue the employer? And I mean, the onus obviously would be on the person making the claim of discrimination based on gender identity and gender expression. And then it's still going to be difficult to prove that. But in Jordan Peterson's case, and I think his concerns are quite valid, that we are one step closer in allowing the state, the government, to control the language that we use. It's controlling what words we can and cannot say. And what it is that we are accommodating a small group of people, the transgender people in this case, and non-binary people, members of the LGBT community, and we are forcing institutions and other people to bend over backwards to appease their individual feelings. Like, again, I'm an androgynous bisexual male. I get mistaken as a girl on the daily. To some of you, you're like, well, no, you're typically a guy. I can see you're a guy, whatever. But to other people, they see or hear me as a female and address me as a female. So what? With the passing of C-16, I can now claim discrimination and therefore hate speech and go after you and potentially ruin your life. All because of a mistake, or all because you, the individual, may not agree with my preferred pronouns. Like, this is going to be detrimental to society and how we use language. Freedom of speech needs to be protected. And freedom of speech means anybody within the country of Canada, let's say, for example, they have the human right to speak their mind. And C-16 is constricting our right to speak our minds. If we want to empower transgender people and treat them as human beings, they need to empower themselves and understand that not everybody is going to agree with you. Even though that's the case, and some people will say no to you, ignore them, go to people who will accept you and who will listen to you, and live your life there. By living your life here, you are not hindering the lives of those over there. But what we see now is the minority group, transgender people, forcing these people to accept their preferred pronouns or you will suffer the consequences. Now, according to this video here, the governmental official guy, he said that it's just very small changes, amendments to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but this is just one step, okay? You're not going to face jail time, but as Jordan Peterson's position at his university right now, the University of Toronto issued 2 letters to him to kind of curve his speech, to tell him that maybe what you're doing is a bad thing. Like, that's just the one step. And he already got called out for having hate speech by that fucking trans professor over there, the bald guy. So, like, already he's enforcing his moral superiority on top of Jordan Peterson, where Jordan Peterson and Theron have real concerns about the way we use language. So my personal opinion on this is that I side with Jordan Peterson on this, and that people who get their pronouns misused or, you know, not fully respected by an individual, get over it. Like, not one person or small group should have that ultimate power over the rest of society. You are essentially forcing people against their will of freedom of speech to say what they want to say and how they feel, and you're shutting that out. Yeah, and you're using the government to back up that enforcement. So I am totally not for that. And if any of you in America who are watching this video, or those of us in Canada, you need to stand up against this amendment, because it may have good intentions behind it in support of the transgender community, but the transgender community, if you want to be treated the same as cisgender people or straight people, like, you need to work with us, and we need to work with you. You're abusing powers that we all should share. You are getting special treatment based off your personal identity. So yes, as Jordan Peterson says, this is a bad idea. And I happen to agree with him. All right, guys, remember, take care of yourselves. And don't get overly emotional. Step back outside of yourself and do some self-reflection as to why you might get offended over somebody not using your preferred pronouns. And ask yourself, is it really important? Is it a good thing that your feelings are solved at the expense of someone's life and living? So take that as you will, guys. You all have a great day. Bye.